And with so much confusion and misinformation spreading as COVID-19 continues to change our definition of normal, it's just hard to find a silver lining. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully we've all had a little time to do some self-reflection. With more on how you can create an opportunity out of this chaos is Dr. Neichelle Guidry, the Dean of Sisters Chapel and Director of the Wisdom Center in Atlanta at Spelman College. Hello.
How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. Glad to see you, and I'm actually glad to talk about some positivity in all of this.
Right.
So let's talk about what are you telling people to do during this pause in life?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me tonight. And I think, I'm on the same page as you. We're all trying to find a silver lining in this hellish situation that we find ourselves in. And so many of us are still staying at home, even as the states are starting to reopen. Those of us who are exercising some wisdom are still staying home. And so we still have a little time on our hands to do something that many of us don't do often, and that is rest. A lot of us prior to this were kind of spinning our wheels, working overtime, hustling and grinding, as many of us like to call it, and are now, everything's come to a halt. And we have this opportunity to sit ourselves down, to recalibrate, to recenter, to refocus. And for some of us, that looks like taking naps. For some of us, that looks like taking walks. That looks like doing nothing. And so that's an opportunity. Another opportunity that we have is to connect with our loved ones. Whether you are living in a house with a house full of people and a spouse, and you got people around you, this is an opportunity to really reestablish those connections, to have some conversation, to make some meals together, to go outside and play dodgeball, if you will. But, we're all on Zoom all day anyways, or some digital technology for work, teleworking. Let's use those same platforms to reconnect with friends that we haven't spoke to, family members that we haven't seen. Those are some opportunities that this moment presents to us.
And you work at a college, and I know that what older folks my age are dealing with and how we're absorbing this new normal and how college students are absorbing it is very different. What are you telling the youth, younger folks, your college students that you've worked with, what are you telling them about how to get through this moment in time?
Yeah, I love this question because just this morning we did a Zoom virtual service of blessing for the class of 2020. And, graduates all over the country are really reckoning with what it means that they will not have their opportunity to walk the stage and to get dressed up with their friends in their graduation gear. And so they're all rethinking what it's going to look like for them to celebrate this accomplishment. And so today on our Zoom call, I told the class of 2020, you will now be known as the class of nevertheless they persisted. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to help them to reframe what is an unforeseen and undesirable situation as something that will ultimately work out for their good, because whether or not they know it, whether or not they've recognized it, they've tapped into their resilience, they've tapped into their wherewithal, they've tapped into their perseverance. Many of them have also obtained some new skills by having to move to this digital sort of experience. And so these are all things that they're going to be able to take with them into their futures. And so just I'm really focused on helping them to see the positives and to reframe the devastation that COVID has caused to the class of 2020. Yeah.
And I want to talk to you before we go about spiritual wellness, how folks are having to really kind of decide what their spirit is right now, where God is in this moment, where their religion is. How do you get through this, especially if you've had death or you've been personally affected by COVID-19? What advice do you have for folks to get through this spiritually, heal themselves spiritually in this pause?
Yeah, I can relate to this question as well, because since this pandemic, my family has lost a loved one. My grandmother made her transition, and we had to have a funeral where I always thought that this woman would have a packed out sanctuary. And so when I preached her eulogy and I only saw about 10 people there, it was kind of crushing. And so I'm going to pass on the same advice to your viewers that I've taken myself. And that's, we need to take it one day at a time. One day is going to be a great day, and we'll have some sense of normalcy. The next day may come and we might just be exhausted and overwhelmed by the state of the world. And then the next day will come and we are in this cycle all over again. And so we have to be gracious with ourselves. We all are responding differently. We all have different needs. We all have different orientations to trauma. And so let's go easy on ourselves. Let's not expect ourselves to perform at the same rate and at the same function in the same way. Let's have mercy on each other as we're all trying to readjust to this situation. And let's just take every day, one day at a time, with gratitude, trying our best to be centered and finding the things that are good and that we can appreciate.
Dr. Neichelle Guidry from Spelman College, thank you so very much. I think that's about as positive as I've heard a message in about the last month. So we really do appreciate it. And of course, our hearts are with you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.